The General Hospital recap for Thursday, September 4th, shows that Nina Reeves lied to the detectives about going on a stroll with Willow Tate, while Michael Corinthos discovered his car had been spotted near the crime site. Tracy provided Michael and Brooklyn Quartermain with updates on Drew Kane's shooting at their estate. Tracy was adamant about keeping Monica Quartermain in the dark for the time being, so Brooklyn went to check on her and ensure she stayed away from the media. Tracy admitted to Michael while they were alone that she knew he had been at Drew's apartment earlier. Tracy had seen Michael's car parked up the street before he drove away, so she instructed him to acquire an alibi and avoid telling her anything she might have to say on the witness stand. Curtis Ashford informed Jordan Ashford of the dissolution of his marriage at the Brown Dog Bar, before she learned of Drew's shooting via an old PCPD colleague. Trina Robinson torched the evidence against Portia Robinson in her apartment, accompanied by Kai Taylor. Stella Henry arrived unexpectedly, and the couple hurried to put out the fire. Stella smelled burning and had questions, but Trina said she had set fire to a magazine by accident. Trina also claimed to be working on something with Kai, but Stella was already on the hunt for Curtis Ashford. Anna Devane summoned Kai to the hospital to answer questions, so he pretended to be shocked by the gunshot and rushed in after changing clothes. When asked if Drew had any tense encounters recently, Kai lied, claiming that he was unaware of any. Anna confirmed that Kai possessed a key, which the cops suspected the shooter would have utilized. Anna complimented Kai for being so kind as he rattled off a long list of other people who also possessed keys. Back with Stella, she expressed her concerns to Trina about Curtis and the potential that he attempted to wipe off Drew. Lucas Jones and Portia Robinson joined the rest of the crew in the operating room to work on Drew. Lucas successfully removed one bullet, but the second was more difficult because to its proximity to an artery. Portia flashed back to her dispute with Drew, as if she was debating whether to damage the situation, but she eventually fulfilled her obligations. Drew coded after hemorrhaging and needed to be revived, but he eventually survived the surgery. Nina Reeves then checked on Willow after hearing of Drew's shooting. Willow inquired how Nina knew, but Nina stated she overheard some nurses discussing it. Anna and Harrison Chase attempted to grill Willow alone, but Nina would not allow it. Nina reportedly mentioned accompanying Willow on her walk and making up information to answer the cops' queries. Anna could tell Nina was lying, but she told Chase about checking into other suspects, mentioning Michael specifically. Chase ended up at the Quartermain mansion, where he questioned Tracy and Brooklyn regarding Michael's whereabouts that evening. Back with Willow, she chastised Nina for tricking the police, but Nina insisted that she was assisting by offering Willow an alibi. Willow pretended Nina was the one in need of the alibi, and she suspected her mother had a more compelling reason to pursue Drew. Lucas eventually conveyed news that Drew had survived his surgery and acknowledged Portia with saving his life, so Willow hugged her. Lulu Spencer met with Martin Gray at the Port Charles Grill, who agreed to violate attorney-client privilege and provide information for a piece on Drew in secret. Martin pleaded for assistance for Stella's sake, but Lulu advised him to temper his expectations because Stella was still guilty. Martin hoped that revealing Drew's involvement would taint the entire investigation. Martin was still listed as one of Drew's emergency contacts, thus he received a phone call from Jich about Drew's shooting and informed Lulu. Later, Michael found an employee and attempted to locate the blonde woman he had been with earlier. The employee recalled, but he couldn't assist. Lulu cornered Michael to find out how long he'd been with Tracy tonight, but he understood what she was doing and said, "No comment." At Alexis Davis's house, Ava Jerome brought sleeping medication for Rick Lansing and was with Christina Corinthos Davis when Dante Falconeri arrived. Dante seemed dubious about Ava's presence, and eventually asked Alexis about her whereabouts this evening when she appeared. Despite Dante's efforts to persuade Alexis to help in the Drew probe, she refused without her attorney present. Dante understood he needed to schedule a formal interview and took off. Alexis had an opportunity to meet with Christina and Ava alone, so she assured them of her innocence despite being held hostage in their basement all evening. Of course, Rick could not be used as an alibi, so Alexis insisted on Christina and Ava serving as hers instead. Ava conceded and suggested they spend some time making it airtight. According to General Hospital spoilers, the Drew probe will continue to take unexpected turns. According to General Hospital spoilers, Drew Kane will be shot between September 1st and 5th, and viewers will find it difficult not to make early predictions about who will fire the gun. Could that be his daughter, Scout Quartermain? Who did it? In recent weeks, General Hospital fans sensed something in the air as it came to Drew. He's enraged far too many people and made far too many enemies in Port Charles. Furthermore, a lot of individuals have recently threatened Drew's life. So while the GH peak depicting Drew being shot is upsetting, it is not entirely unexpected. Portia Robinson, Curtis Ashford, Carly Spencer, Michael Corinthos, Sonny Corinthos, and Nina Reeves are currently among the leading suspects. Nonetheless, fans appreciate a nice soapy whodunit. Always involves someone people don't expect. Scout Quartermain has been through a lot. Scout is as nice as they come, so it's difficult to imagine she's pulling the trigger. Nevertheless, the child has also been through a lot. In less than a year, she lost her primary caretaker, her mother, Sam McCall, a loss the youngster is undoubtedly still mourning. Drew then whisked Scout out of the Quartermain house, away from her brothers Danny Morgan and Rocco Falconeri, only to install her in a new blended family with Willow Tate and her children. Of course, Drew's disastrous wedding to Willow most likely caused Scout distress because it also tore apart her new family. Okay, wait, our second channel link to given in the description, please subscribe. Furthermore, Scout has been estranged from both of her grandparents. Monica Quartermain or Alexis Davis may bring the young girl additional trauma, so might the youngster do the unthinkable? Scout has gone through a lot of changes in a short period of time, and much of her pain is due to her father. It doesn't help that she hasn't received much attention from Drew, so Scout may believe that the only way to stop her father and restore some normalcy to her life is to do the unthinkable. Will Scout be the one to shoot Drew? Share your ideas. Tune in to the ABC soap and visit this website frequently for the most recent General Hospital updates, spoilers, and news. Drew's chest heaved forcefully as the medical team gathered around him, their voices crisp and frantic among the pandemonium of the emergency room. The alarms blared, and the flatline beep terrified everyone close. Blood loss had taken its toll, his body convulsed from shock, and the monitors shrieked his dying heartbeat. Finn yelled orders, sweat running down his brow as he tried to stabilize Drew, while Portia desperately searched for another vein to deliver more fluids. The room was suffocating with panic, and every second felt like an eternity. Sam stood motionless in the doorway, unable to breathe as she watched the man she had loved teeter on the brink of death. Her tears obscured her eyes, but she couldn't move. Every sound, cry, and machine felt far away, despite the fact that they were all directly in front of her. Dante pushed through the mob, his jaw tense, but his training kept him steady. He didn't want to think about losing his friend. Not now, not tonight, not after Drew had fought so hard for everyone else. Epiphany, with her firm hands and unwavering authority, directed everyone to clear room around the gurneys. The suction machine gurgled as blood pooled beneath Drew, and for a brief moment, no one was convinced he would make it. Portia tried compressions again, her voice shaking as she requested more units of O-negative. The tension in the room was tremendous, and the silence following the flatline nearly deafened everyone. The beeping resumed, albeit weakly. A single blip. Then another. Finn gripped the paddles, his hands solid as his voice echoed across the turmoil. Charging to 200. The current rushed through Drew's body, causing it to jolt forcefully against the bed. Sam let out a strangled sob, clutching the doorframe like it was the only thing holding her up. Another jolt, another delay, and eventually, the steady rhythmic beeping they had all hoped for. Drew was back, weak yet alive. But the relief did not last long. Behind the clean curtains of the ER, danger lurked. Nina stood outside, clutching her purse so firmly that her knuckles turned white. Her heart raced as she mentally recalled the struggle, the confrontation, and the terrifying scream Drew made when he collapsed. She knew what the cops would ask and what she couldn't say. If she told the truth, all she had constructed, her relationship with Willow, her tenuous hope to reunite with her daughter, the sliver of peace she'd discovered, would crumble in an instant. When Detective Chase approached with a grim but searching face, Nina forced herself to breathe calmly. She had often practiced this in her head, and now it was time to deliver. "I didn't see who attacked him," she explained quietly, her voice measured and frail. "It all happened so fast. I heard shouting and then I found Drew on the ground." Chase's keen gaze remained on her face, as if attempting to read the truth between her words, but she didn't flinch. Her gut twisted fiercely within, but she remained cool on the outside. She couldn't afford to have anyone suspect what had happened. Meanwhile, in the waiting area, Michael paced like a caged beast, fists clenched and jaw clamped in wordless rage. Willow remained immobile in the corner, pale and scared, her big eyes tracking every nurse who ran by. "Why haven't they told us anything?" Michael murmured beneath his breath, barely keeping himself together. "He's been in there for over an hour." Brooke Lynn attempted to calm him by placing a hand on his arm, but her nerves were strained. The whole family was unraveling. Drew's collapse had sent shockwaves through Port Charles, reopening ancient wounds and revealing long-buried secrets. Sam appeared from the trauma bay with a pale face and haunting eyes. Michael dashed to her side, his voice quivering as he demanded an explanation. "Is he?" "He's stable for now," Sam said, her voice shaking but firm enough to keep everyone's optimism alive. "However, he lost a lot of blood. If he hadn't come here when he did." She choked back a sob. Willow grabbed for Sam's hand, and she allowed herself to be dragged into a reassuring embrace for a brief period. But, even as she held on Willow, her glance went to Nina, and the unspoken tension between them was palpable. Sam realized Nina wasn't sharing the whole story. She could see it in her eyes, how they darted slightly whenever Drew's name came up. Nina was aware that Sam suspected her, which added to the weight of the quiet. Later that night, when the bustle had subsided, Nina went into a quiet corridor and contacted someone she hadn't spoken with in months. Her voice was low and quiet, almost trembling. "It's done," she whispered. "But you have to make sure nothing comes back to me. If Chase finds out I was there before Drew collapsed." She paused, looking around to ensure no one could hear. "I can't afford to let anyone know." The voice on the other end of the line was calm, almost chilling. "Then continue with your story. No one will question a morning woman, at least not yet." Back in Drew's room, the machines beeped regularly while the sedatives kept him unconscious. Sam sat by his side, holding his hand and whispering soft promises into the peaceful air. "You're going to be fine," she whispered quietly, smoothing the damp hair from his brow. "I won't let you go. Not like this." Her voice cracked, but she continued to speak, hoping he could hear her someplace deep inside. Outside, Dante drew Chase aside, his expression quiet but determined. "Something's not adding up here," he replied quietly. "Nina's story is overly clean. And Drew doesn't just end up bleeding out for no reason." Chase nodded slowly, his own doubts building, but without Drew conscious to speak, they had nothing substantial to work with. Willow eventually mustered the confidence to approach Nina, her voice breaking as she murmured, "Tell me you had nothing to do with this." Nina's breath caught, and her mask dropped for a split second, but she recovered quickly. "Of course not," she swiftly replied, grasping for Willow's hand. "Sweetheart, I'd never hurt Drew." Willow paused, her chest constricting with unease, but she didn't push any farther. Drew's fragile state persisted for days, with him drifting in and out of consciousness. When he roused, his lips moved as if attempting to speak, but no sound came out. Sam drew forward, trying to hear, but the words were too faint and fragmented. Drew whispered Nina, as the machines buzzed gently around them, causing Sam to freeze. Her entire body became chilly, and her heart pounded fiercely in her chest. She stared at him, her throat dry, but he fell back into unconsciousness before she could ask him any questions. The following morning, Sam faced Nina, her voice low and piercing, each phrase cutting like glass. "What have you done?" Nina blinked quickly, simulating shock and uncertainty, but Sam didn't buy it. "Don't lie to me," Sam growled, moving closer. "If you had anything to do with why Drew is fighting for his life, I will find out." Nina swallowed hard, trying to keep her cool, but her panic was building inside. Every motion she made, every word she said, felt like she was walking a tightrope over fire. She'd lied to the cops and Willow, and now Sam was closing in. If she made a mistake, all she had created would burn down. The tension between them broke just as Dante received an unexpected tip. Security footage from the alley near Drew's collapse surfaced, revealing a mysterious figure escaping just moments before Drew was discovered. Chase delivered it directly to Nina, watching for any reaction, and she froze. Just one heartbeat. But he knew enough. With Drew still hanging by a thread and the truth poised to explode, The entire community braced for the consequences. Lies have a way of unraveling in Port Charles, and Nina might not be able to escape unscathed. Will Drew wake up and expose her? Or will Nina's secret be buried among the bloodstains on the floor? Regardless, one thing was certain. Nothing in Port Charles would ever be the same again. The hospital seemed strangely quiet, but the atmosphere in the corridors was oppressive. Drew remained unconscious, his breathing shallow and erratic, as the machines beside him maintained a delicate balance between life and death. Sam hadn't left his bedside in hours, her fingers tenderly entwined with his, saying words he couldn't understand. Every time the monitors beeped abnormally, her heart halted for a brief second. She was barely holding on, as shame and fear clawed at her chest. She continued revisiting the night in her memory, every second leading up to Drew's collapse, every face she saw, and every detail she may have overlooked. But no matter how hard she tried, one idea kept coming back: Nina. Nina, meantime, was disintegrating beneath her meticulously crafted mask. To everyone else, she was the bereaved widow who had been in the wrong place at the wrong time, but within, panic was eating her alive. She had lied to the cops and Willow, and now she could feel Dante getting closer, asking sharper questions and pushing deeper into her story. Nina faked a shaky grin every time Chase stopped by with an update, but her fingers remained sweaty and her stomach twisted in knots. Willow also sensed it. She'd known Nina long enough to know when she was concealing something, and the thought was chewing at her persistently. Late that night, she crept into Drew's room as Sam went out for coffee. She sat alongside him, tenderly holding his hand, tears silently falling down her face. "Please come back to us," she said quietly, caressing his knuckles with her thumb. "I need you to wake up. I need you to explain what happened, because I don't know who to believe anymore." Willow had no idea that Dante had just received the most recent lab report, and the results sent shivers down his spine. Drew's blood work did not match the injuries they had been informed about. The evidence pointed to something more darker. There was more going on than a simple fall or accident. This was deliberate. Someone wanted Drew gone, and Dante had a bad feeling he already knew who. When Dante faced Nina in the corridor, he spoke calmly, but his eyes were icy and unforgiving. "You're not telling us everything," he added gently, coming closer to ensure no one else could hear. Nina froze, forcing a trembling laugh to cover the panic rising in her throat. "I've told you everything I know," she insisted, her voice low and hesitant. But Dante did not move, nor did he blink. "If you're lying, I will find out," he cautioned softly. "And when I do, nothing, not Willow, not Michael, not anyone, will protect you." That night, Nina sat alone in her car in the hospital parking lot, her knuckles white from gripping the steering wheel so tightly. She was trapped. The walls were closing in, and she could feel the weight of the truth bearing down on her. If Drew awoke and realized what had happened, she would lose everything she had worked for. Drew's eyes flickered within the hospital room, seemingly on cue. His lips opened slightly, letting out a raspy, broken sound: her name. "Nina." The single word broke the silence like thunder. Sam, standing nearby, halted in mid-step, her blood going cold. She slowly turned toward him, her whole body shivering as the revelation hit her like a lightning bolt. Drew had just given her the first piece of the puzzle, which validated every dreadful suspicion she had deep within. Everything was about to burst. According to General Hospital spoilers, Kai Taylor could be arrested and give a false confession as the Drew Kane shooter. Will Kai carry out a daring plot to save Trina and Portia Robinson? GH fans know Kai made a huge mistake when he went against Trina and her family. Kai praised Drew and believed he was doing the right thing by telling him about Curtis Ashford's dirty agenda. However, Kai eventually developed a new perspective after listening in on Drew's recent talk with Curtis. It made Kai realize Drew is a monster. Thus his loyalty has returned to Trina and the people she cares about the most. That was clear when Kai chose to leave Drew bleeding on the floor rather than calling for help after the gunshot. Kai's top concern was to get Trina out of there and avoid any charges. Keeping Trina out of legal trouble may be a major concern for Kai as the plot progresses. Kai and Trina's fingerprints are found in several locations at Drew's house, so their covert visit may come back to bother them in the future. If it appears like Trina may face charges of any kind, Kai may fake a false confession and arrange a bargain to ensure her freedom. Kai may undertake a daring move like that for Portia's sake if the cops start looking too closely at her as a suspect. Kai wouldn't want Trina to lose her mother to prison, especially after thwarting Curtis' attempt to gain an advantage against Drew. If Kai falsely admits, he may lie about the true cause for his visit to Drew's residence, so avoiding the Portia blackmail scenario. Many followers turned against Kai after he betrayed Trina and her family. Thus this predicament provides an opportunity to earn those fans back. Kai may continue to demonstrate that Trina and her family are more important to him than anything else. Perhaps Kai will even be willing to do jail time, at least until the truth about the shooter is revealed. According to General Hospital spoilers, Kai and Trina are stuck in a problem that is only going to grow messier. So stay tuned for updates on all of the scary news coming up. At the Five Poppies Resort, Jocelyn and Vaughn were still imprisoned in an empty room. Joss was surprised that Britt didn't assist them. Pascal and one of his henchmen brought them water, but only in return for information. Joss and Vaughn try to portray themselves as inexperienced agents. Britt was creeping up the corridor into the room while the henchman held a knife to Joss' throat. After pushing Joss on the ground, Pascal stated that if the code to the WSB box Joss provided him was incorrect, he would consider her useless and dispose of her. After he left, Joss and Vaughn argued in despair, and Vaughn thought there must be a mole in the agency. Britt eventually answered the door. Joss begged her to help them get out, and she had to admit that they were WSB. Britt refused to explain how she was alive or why she was there, telling Jocelyn that she could only do so much. She placed a pair of manicure scissors in Joss' hand, told them they would have to help themselves, and then went. Pascal intercepted Britt as she was walking out the door. She asked him what the heck was going on and why he was kidnapping honeymooners. When Pascal responded he was managing things, she told him he was lousy at taking initiative, and that he should not do anything else until he returned. In the room Joss showed Vaughn the scissors. Later, when one of the henchmen returned to the confinement chamber, Joss and Vaughn startled him by not being tied up, and Vaughn attacked him. Britt returned to her room and attempted to call Jason using the burner phone, but it did not go through. When the call was finally connected, the reception was awful. As Britt cried into the phone, "Jason, you have to come back." Pascal walked in, grabbed her arm, and informed her that this time she had gone too far. Jason called Danny from the Charles de Gaulle airport in Paris. His flight was delayed. As he waited, he recalled his recent chats with Britt. When Britt's call came through, he was already in line to board. Because of the poor reception, it is unclear what he heard. Drew retrieved Willow's engagement ring from the safe at his house. While Trina and Kai were hiding in the bedroom, Drew placed the ring in front of a picture of him and Willow on the mantel, noting that Willow would see that everything was going to be fine. As he finished his drink, a shot was fired, striking him in the back. He collapsed to the floor, as a shadowy person approached and shot him in the back once more. After Trina and Kai believed they had heard the gunman leave, Kai walked outside with a softball bat to investigate. Trina followed soon after. She checked Drew and discovered a pulse. As she went to stop the bleeding, she wanted to call 911, but Kai told her to leave because they couldn't be there. They noticed a car approach and went to the back door. Kai paused to leave the front door slightly open. Tracy stepped up to see the front door open. She was astounded to find Drew shot on the floor. After checking for a pulse, she contacted the cops while attempting to stop the bleeding. Police and paramedics arrived. The detectives wanted to talk to Tracy, but she refused to allow her nephew ride in an ambulance alone. However, Dante and Anna approached Tracy as she was about to depart. Dante called Scout's nanny, who informed him that Scout was attending a Lila's kids' sleepover at camp. Anna asked Tracy to describe what had transpired. Tracy discussed the restraining orders and Drew's out-of-control behavior, after telling how she discovered him. She also stated that, because to the restraining orders on Danny and Rocco, Scout was unable to visit Monica, one of her few delights these days being to see the children. Tracy claimed to have stopped by to reason with Drew. Dante discovered the safe still open and signs that someone had entered through the rear entrance. He stated there were no signs of a struggle, and the only item out of place was the softball bat left on the living room floor. Tracy left for the PCPD to make an official statement. Dante claimed there was a long list of people who wanted Drew dead, and Anna wondered who was at the top. Brennan was attempting to relax in his WSB office by listening to jazz on his phone. Colette came in and asked if he had heard from Joss and Vaughn, but he hadn't. She urged him again to accept that the Five Poppies' purpose had failed, and that he needed to end it. He questioned whether she wanted to see him fail. Colette asked Brennan if she could go to the Five Poppies to clean up the aftermath of an operation. Carly arrived.